Hello and welcome to Bargain Binners, the podcast about the film we found at the bottom of the cinematic barrel. I'm Aidan Belazaire, and joining me is Andrew Raphael.
Yo.
And Gareth Green.
Hello there.
And our mission is simple. Each week, one of us will nominate a film for the rest of us to discuss, but with one rule. We must have purchased the film for no more than one of our measly British pounds. So, moving on to episode 2, faster than a chair flying across the room, I decided to nominate the St. Francisville Experiment. 1 hour and 20 action-packed minutes filled with talking, and more talking. As told and filmed from our 4 non-actors, Stoner Bob, Blonde, Twat McGee, and I Don't See Dead People, it's time to play the trailer for this low-lighting, title card-heavy, scare-free pseudo-Blair Witch.
1832, New Orleans. Fire breaks out in the southern nation.
Firemen on the scene make a grim discovery. The bodies of slaves in chains and cages.
Tortured, mutilated, and hanged.
The St. Francisville mansion stays haunted by their spirits to this day.
4 real people. The actual St. Francisville house.
It's cold up here. It's cold.
They don't know they're dead.
I do not want this door to shut.
One documented night.
I don't want to go last.
Now, fear doesn't follow a script.
What's going on?
Get out of the house right now!
The St. Francisville Experiment.
God help us.
You won't have to ask if it's real.
Well, that was the trailer. Yeah, I'm going to start this whole thing off with just a big apology for last time you guys will never get back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this podcast was close to ending when about 20 minutes into this film, I was thinking, is this really worth it? It was just enough time for me to start thinking about my life choices that had led to this point.
So yeah, I found this on Amazon on, it was a used DVD for 96p.
A rip-off,
Yeah.
as you might say.
And I guess, let's start at the start. Let's start at the beginning, how I think a caption comes up about that they're not actors.
Non-actors.
Yeah, that was the first thing that rung my alarm bells. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. That is like the red flag waving moment. Whenever a film starts off with like the people in this movie are non-actors, and I mean, to be honest, it's probably right because I don't think any of them could act.
Well, they weren't acting, were they? They were just being themselves because they weren't actors.
And today they're playing bad actors.
It was funny to me actually how the first few title cards came up. I think it was 1 or 2 at the beginning, and then then you see the producer who basically just says what the 2 title cards just said.
Yeah.
Just reading from them.
Yeah, basically. And then it goes in quite quickly, if I remember right. I've already started to wipe this film out of my memory, and I watched it last night as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that issue this morning, to be honest. I had a little bit of a sweat before starting the podcast because I watched this like very late last night. Like I'm talking about 11 o'clock at night. And when I woke up this morning, I was like, what happened? What the fuck happened? And I'm like frantically going through I've got many pages of notes, but like just reminding myself what happened because it's all gone. It's just gone.
I did read a couple of articles saying that it wasn't too far removed from Blair Witch. You know, it's the obvious comparison, but they were wrong. They were so wrong. It's fucking dreadful.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think it goes after the producer says his little bit. I think you actually get a title card with, it doesn't say, does it say characters? No, it says like subjects or the team or something like that.
Yeah, it is. But the whole premise for the film, and this is exactly what the producer says, is what if we took non-actors? I mean, to be honest, when you like referring to like the people in your film as non-actors, what I think is, why not just introduce them as people? Because, why not? What if we took non-actors, or people, if you will, and then trained them to be paranormal investigators in what seems to be like one 20-minute session in a park. Like, that's all it takes to train in the art of paranormal investigation. They get given like 2 meters and a camera. Like, one of them reads light, the other one reads temperature. I can do that with what I've got hanging about my house.
Guys just walking around with a thermometer and just putting it on walls. Not here.
I think we've also overlooked the fact that in the second title card, they state that all events in this movie are true, which is a staple of this time.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Can they actually do that? Can you actually... And if it's a true story, I know you have to put based on a true story, even if you always have to put based on. Can they legally say that?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
can say that about any film. Fargo is famous for having it before their film. Fargo says based on true events or real life events, but there's nothing in that film that is real.
No,
it's just that.
But they say based. This film says... What was the word?
Based on but it is kind of as well, because the historical background of what actually happened is kind of based in reality. So they might get away with it on that front.
Yeah. And researching that, I was like, why? I want to watch that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, there was the justification for each of the people who went into the house. Well, I was a history major in college.
Fade. There's some weird editing in this film as well. Like, just fade outs are like way before they should fade out.
For me, it felt hopeful. It's a fade out's usually like not just an ending scene, but it could be like an older film, like the ending of the film. So you get that illusion that the film's ending like 60 times throughout the whole production.
I'm like, thank God. Like, first fade out, I was like, oh, well, that was relatively painless. Not got a lot to say, mind. And then another scene started. But I want to talk about my favourite character of the lot, really. And I've just written him down as 90s boy band haircut, Forever Alone.
Oh, is that Tim?
No, I don't know any of the names.
I wrote all their names down in the order that they're introduced. So
He's the one with the curtains, the one with
that's
the blonde.
Paul. That's Paul.
You don't mean the film student, the film major guy, the guy who's smoking a joint in one interview.
No, not the
other
one that's
guy
constantly telling everybody that he loves ghosts.
That's Tim.
Yeah, but he says, like, Tim comes across and Paul, did you say his name was?
Yeah, Paul, yeah.
Thank God for you, Andy, because I have no idea.
We can call him prep school Shaggy.
Yeah, but he says, personally, if I lived in a haunted house, I wouldn't want them to leave. It's good to have company. I thought, egad, you lonely fuck. Like, just keeping ghosts at ransom just because you're forever alone. Please, sir, it's been 100 years. Can I go now?
He's not letting
I'm
them
an
pass on.
orphan boy that died in a chimney.
He knows what their unfinished business is and he won't let them finish it.
He's like, no, we'll let you go. Just one more season of Jersey Shore. That's all I need you for. Just to hang out on the couch. We'll watch one more season, then you can go to the afterlife. Thank you, sir.
No, he's watching Dead Like Me.
Yeah, or The Good Place, just like torturing them.
This is what you could have had.
Yeah, behind door number 2.
Now watch me shower again.
Fuck's sake. Have you ever shagged a ghost? I suppose you wouldn't need much protection.
Well, it's like that scene from Ghostbusters where he gets a blowjob from a ghost.
That's true. Yeah,
It's in a family-friendly movie.
What would it be like? Would it just be like shag and fog?
No.
Or is it like sticking an ice pop around your dome?
Oh, yeah, because they're quite cold, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. How do we get so quickly to dicks?
We always do.
Yeah, he does get a little bit tetchy later on, doesn't he? He starts off quite nice and respectful, and then he becomes a bit of a dick.
Very quickly,
Yeah, there's a line later on where he says, "Oh, it's grim." He says, "Oh, it must be that time of the month." He says it to the witch lady.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, dude, come on.
Well, when they're first introduced to her as well, one of them, the stoner guy, I think, says, "I'm gonna smack her." Like he says, what's her name, Madison or something like that, and he says, "Oh, I really want to smack Madison." And I was like, fucking hell, who invited Sean Connery's ghost to this paranormal investigation? But yeah, it's like they go from like 0 to abuse very quickly.
I actually thought Tim ended up being the most normal character towards the end. But kinda like he finds that extra bit. No, but
To be honest, he did become the most normal character because you have all of these characters at the end of the film where all of these paranormal things are happening to them, and Tim is just locked in a room behind a fucking wardrobe, going spiders everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, out of all the people that shit's happening to, that's the guy who I believe the most.
wait, there's that
There's
bit.
nothing paranormal at all. He's just stuck in a cobweb.
There's that bit where he opens the thing and he goes, "Huh," and then he turns the camera on. It's just him in the mirror. Oh, absolute genius! Actually, he finds that hidden area, and I really thought, okay, this is going to be the bit where you finally see something in here. Maybe there is still like a slave sort of trade thing going on, or and there's somebody. It's not even a ghost. It's like somebody's locked in there, a bit like the Spanish Wreck. A little bit like that.
Oh,
Wreck,
that's like Wreck 2, isn't it? In Wreck 2, there's an even like weirder one. You know when they have the night vision, and then it's only in the night vision that you can see the door.
Oh shit!
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best bits of that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in the original Wreck when they find the room at the top, like the penthouse, isn't it? Because I only watched it a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I really thought was going to happen in that part, but instead it's just cobwebs.
You're
and
being far
spiders.
too optimistic. Far too like, given what you've seen already, you're reaching for those kind of moments.
I was hoping, Andy. I was hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that was good was it was brilliant how they made the sound authentically bad. They I thought they did a great job. That must have taken. It's very hard to make something consciously make something so terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've tried.
Oh, wait, one more thing. Do you notice that there's a bit where he's interviewing, the producer's interviewing someone on a bench. I've forgotten who it is. Some interviewee just giving a bit more details about the house.
Oh yeah, the redhead woman who's providing all the information about the background on the house.
Yeah.
Or is it the voodoo priestess?
No, I think it's the priestess, and they're sat on a bench.
Voodoo
And instead of
priestess.
using 2 shots and having 2 over-the-shoulder shots, the cameraman keeps moving each time someone speaks to the other side in like a horseshoe shape. If you notice, it's so weird. It's like he moves and frames the person as they're talking. Then as the next person starts talking, he turns around to the other side in the one shot. Rather than use 2 cameras or cut.
So this is by a filmmaker who's actually made other films, and they're not all like found footage. I mean, they're all terrible, but they're not all like found footage nonsense. And when I saw that scene, I fell down a black hole of thinking: was this purposely made to look this shit, or is it this shit by accident? Because I think as well, if you take these 4 non-actors and train them in paranormal investigation, I think they should have at least spent about 10 minutes being shown how to frame a shot as well, considering each one of them has a camera. They're always in a room together as well, with like 4 cameras on the go at once, and not a single one of them is getting a single usable frame of footage. It's always like the camera's up someone's nose, or they populate about 5% of the frame in the corner or something. And it's they're always looking at the wrong things.
Yeah, it's like they've been told to shine the torch under their face, so they're lit. But it just makes them look like, are you afraid of the dark campfire story all the time, doesn't it?
Oh, what were they called now? The something society.
The Secret Society. No.
Is that what it was?
No, the society's just secret.
Are you talking about the Illuminati?
No.
We don't talk about that, Aiden.
What else? Oh yeah, there was a funny quote I got from the woman you were talking about, the red-headed one who basically gave the entire history of the experiments there. And there was one bit where she was like, and they found red liquid in bottles.
Red liquid. I've written it down as well.
But what was funny was she put, they later examined it and they believed it to be blood. No, wait.
Shit.
Wait, they believe if they examined it, it either was blood or it wasn't blood. Who did you get to examine it?
And back then, what did they do to examine it? Did somebody drink it? Like, no, let's get a little bit more. But like, to be honest, right, if you go into an environment where there's all these, a truly horrible situation where all of these slaves have been tortured, some of them have been flayed, people have been had like makeshift surgeries on them and that type of thing. And then you come across some bottles filled with red substance. You don't have to examine it. You go, that's blood. Yeah. You know, that's it. There's no scientific method required. That is blood. What else is it going to be? It's just where I keep the raspberry compote.
The raspberry coulis. Yeah.
That was the actual secret thing that was going on there. It was making that special recipe.
But I actually thought as well, like with that intro about, because I was reading it much the same as Andy. I read up about the history of the house that it's based on as well, and the person it's based on, who I think is called something like Daphne.
It's Delphine Lalaurie.
Yeah, that's it, Lalaurie. And her the whole history of that house, man, that is a terrifying and horrifying story.
Yeah.
And what a thing to be exploited by five white guys that go into that. But like, it doesn't come back in any meaningful way, because I thought like, oh, but this is going to be like a play on the idea that these white people are exploiting a black horrifying crime that took place and they're going to pay for it. But the worst thing that happens to them is somebody gets scratches on the back and another person gets spiders in their hair.
Yeah. Yeah. They completely waste any premise. I mean, I thought, is one of them going to be like a descendant of this person or anything? I mean, the closest they get to is having these chains in the fireplace.
Yes.
You know, apart from that, it just seems like they've Googled or whatever was available at the time, maybe like Ask Jeeves or something.
Ask Jeeves, fucking hell.
Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
But yeah, it's like they just found a scenario to build whatever they were going to do anyway around. And, and it's like, it's never mentioned again after that. It's almost like the history bit was filmed at another time and they just thought, we need a reason why these people go into this house. So they'll, they just pasted it on there. Because like that whole background of that person, I was like, why is that not a movie?
Yeah.
That character has been portrayed in something fairly recently. I think it was... she was a character in the 3rd season of American Horror Story.
Oh, really?
Played by Kathy Bates. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Did they have like a season set in New Orleans?
Yeah, it was called Coven. And it was about...
that was the one. I remember it now, yeah.
Yeah, so she actually has been portrayed dramatically in something. But this all the same, given that story, it's like, why has no one made a film of that? Like a proper film of it? Because this certainly isn't it. So...
To be honest, I would think as well, like, you could still base a spooky story on this if you're actually going to do something with that history. Like, to say that it's based on this horrifying thing that happened to these slaves, what you essentially have is, like, say the worst thing that they do is just move some chairs about and open a couple of doors, and at one point a light breaks. Yeah. And it's like, at no point does it come back around, really. Like you say, we have that moment with the shackles that are in the chimney, but at no other point does it really come back around to the idea that this is a place where horrifying things happened. And to be honest, it's a great premise for a horror film, as long as you're going to play into that history in some meaningful way. I mean, this one is a botch job straight from the beginning. It's clearly just been made because somebody wants to make a Blair Witch and cash in on that. But I've got to say as well, the historian who like gives the monologue of her life without taking a breath. She lays down everything flat. But one of my favorite lines that she says is when the Madame's house is revealed to be this place where horrible things happen, and she says the Madame thought, well, I'm busted. And I was like, categorically, I could objectively say that no, she did not think that. Like, nobody from the 18th century thought, well, I'm busted.
I just love how they have those random shots of like wax museum items as well, like the recreations, and it's like they just come out of complete nowhere, and there's only like 2 shots of it, and it's just like
yeah. I got to speak as well about paranormal activity. So, I mean, this is a ghost hunting movie. Ghost hunting and ghost hunters is a big thing. One of the questions that I've written down very early on is, do either of you believe in the paranormal?
Andy, do you want to take this one first?
I do to an extent because I've actually seen a ghost. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, there's probably some weird scientific explanation for it that we haven't quite worked out yet, but it was definitely weird.
Ooh.
there was a summer camp at one of my old schools that I went to. It's quite an old building, and it's like I think it was an I shape like building, so you could see across to the other side.
Andy, this isn't a story that isn't going to end with you being raped, is it?
No.
Like, this is just how you've masked the abuse.
No. But
You're foreshadowing it earlier with the blowjob from a ghost.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Go on.
Yeah, there was I think where we were staying, because it was like a school that had boarding facilities. So we were in what would have normally been the boarding, like one of the boarding rooms for this summer camp, and directly across, like the other side of the courtyard sort of thing.
Yeah.
Was on the ground floor there was like a theatre, I think they called it the Salle or something, and then above was a chapel, which was the original chapel that had always been there, and I think it had originally been some sort of like convent or something like that, or it was run by nuns or something like that.
So an inherently spooky location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to put some royalty-free spooky music under this as well.
And this is and also and because this is the summer, a lot of the building is locked up. So
yeah,
things like the chapel would be locked up because obviously you went in there in term time, but I mean, I think we even went to it at a point it was completely out of bounds. Like, like you would do, you'd just wander around wherever you could and find places. But one of the nights, I don't know who it was, but somebody else just like spotted like, hey, there's somebody at the window in this chapel. And we were like, what? And we all went round and it was just like the weirdest fucking thing, because there was very clearly a face with a habit, and you could even see their eyes, but they were just like blacked out, just peering out of this window.
Did they move, or did they just stare at you?
Just staring out for a few minutes.
That's fucking terrifying.
Creepy,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
That is terrifying.
And then I think it disappeared after a while. And then I think the girls who, because it was split into boys and girls, and we're in a completely different area of the building, but the girls were on the same corridor that led off from that chapel. And apparently there was like this massive chill that just went right through all the rooms down that corridor. So, all the rooms off the corridor. So, yeah, it's really strange, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's strange, and I've never seen anything again like that. But it'll be one of those things that somebody will have found some sort of weird explanation, especially when you start going into sort of interdimensional and all that kind of stuff that people, all these theoretical scientists go in today. There'll be something in it. And also like you talk about the concepts of time and energy. There's all sorts of things, but it was very weird anyway. But I've not seen anything since, but it's kind of definitely cemented. I mean, if it was somebody's idea of a hoax, it was incredibly elaborate.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm much the same. I say, if anybody asks if I believe in ghosts, I always say no, but that's not to say that I haven't had like what I would describe as a paranormal experience. I lived in a place that when I lived there, I thought was genuinely a haunted house. You've both been to the place in Portsmouth. That was a genuinely scary place to live. Lights turned themselves on and off, doors opened and closed by themselves. There was just like a real horrible aura about the place. But like the moment I took myself out of that environment, while I was there, I was like convinced. I'm like, this place is haunted. It has to be. This is the only thing that explains it. At one point we had black ooze coming out of the walls, and it was like, what the fuck is this? I even tasted it, thinking it was like I'd spilt soy sauce or something. I was like, ugh.
No, what the fuck, man? That's so weird.
It's like slimages.
How would you spill soy sauce on the walls?
It wasn't even like, I don't know why I did it. It was like
you just tasted rising damp.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's like the tiniest blob, like little speculum or whatever it is.
Speculum.
So while I was there, I was like, this is a genuinely terrifying place to live. But the moment I took myself out of that environment, I was like, oh, well, there are 1,000 explanations as to why that could happen. This is why the bath filled itself. This is why the doors opened at some point. This is why the lights turned themselves on and off. But while I was there, it was scary.
This is why I woke up with scratches on my back.
Yeah, and spiders in my hair.
This is why blood was written on the wall. You're next.
Yeah. I'm not a believer in the paranormal. I do believe that there's a scientific explanation for everything. But at the same time, I think it's very easy to get wrapped up in the whole idea of the paranormal, and especially when you're living through that type of event in that kind of environment.
I imagine the belief would kind of snowball a bit. You know what I mean? Like if weird things are happening, then it concretes and then it builds until you believe more and more the longer it goes on.
Yeah.
I never had a weird experience as such. Only once where I thought my dog died, and I thought I saw it when I was a kid, really young, but it popped its head out from behind the wardrobe.
Yeah.
And when I got up to check and turn on the lights, the wardrobe was against the wall, so there was no way it could have come from behind the wardrobe. There was like a tiny bit of space where the drawing, what's it called, that thing at the bottom? The drawing board? No.
Skating board.
Yeah, that's it. The skirting
Skirting
board,
the tree.
the drawing board. Back to the drawing board, guys.
And so there was only like centimeters of space. So obviously I didn't see anything. I was probably just missing my deceased dog.
Yeah, but you know, that's actually kind of cool as well, because normally anybody that has a ghost story, it's always about like, I saw this, not to riff on yours, Andy, but it's always like some kind of like medieval or religious individual, like they saw walking through a field or through a churchyard. And then to have one where it's like, I saw a dog. Is really it's really quite unusual. I like that.
I'm not denying that mine's incredibly cliched.
Yeah, but it's incredibly terrifying as well.
Yeah.
It was weird. It wasn't scary at all. It was more just like fascinating. I mean, if that was a hoax, hats off to them, because it was very elaborate.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it'd be. It's one of those things where it's like, who would stretch to that at some kids' summer camp? It was weird.
Paedophile.
Maybe, yeah. The school paedophile. That's all his fault.
Right, so
yes, moving back to the St. Francisville experiment. I think we would have made better paranormal investigators. For a start, we can hold a camera.
Yeah.
yeah. I did notice there was one scene where they were setting up the wide shot each time. They were putting one camera down and they were checking it quickly to make sure it was filming all four of them.
Yeah.
And it actually surprised me that for the most part, the character you thought was going to be the douche, the film student, was it Tim again, Andy?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
At first, I thought he was going to be the cameraman. He was going to always be behind the camera.
Yeah.
I have no real point to this. That's just a fact.
No, but normally, I mean, in films that follow, Blair Witch maybe not so much, but I guess even in Blair Witch, you still have the main focal point, which is, what's her name? I forgot her name, and it's right there at the front of my brain. But yes, you have the girl of the three, and she's the main cameraman. Mm-hmm. It's like mainly told from her perspective. In this one, I don't know really who's holding the camera at any point. It just seems to be cutting between nonsense. The thing that they do with Blair Witch that's really good is they differentiate the film. There's two cameras, and each camera has different type of film. There's one with black and white, and there's one in color. One of them, I think, I can't even remember what the film size is, but you know instantly which camera you're on and who's holding it because of that difference in the footage. In this one, because they've all got the same camera, to be honest, I thought at one point that there were like 7 people in the house, because I didn't know really who any of the names was. Everybody was talking constantly. They were just not stopping talking for a moment. And I thought, oh, there's about 6 or 7 people here. And I was actually quite shocked to find out I think only 4 of them went in the house.
Actually, it was funny when they sat down and the guy with the curtain haircut, God, he reads through that list. Instead of like fucking showing, not telling, he tells. He tells and tells and fucking tells. And he goes through the entire... So we need to do this, and we need to get this temperature, and then we have to do this bit. And he just goes on and on.
This is the shit you normally cut out of your film. Like, this turns it into fucking Admin, the movie. You know, it's like, okay, guys, we've got to fill out all of our risk assessments as well, just to make sure, you know, that we're insured for this. For this.
The most excited I think I heard him was when... He was really impressed with the food box when they arrived.
Oh my! I've written down the whole food box thing. That like you've got this. What's her name? You've got Madison, who is like the paranormal, like the one that's in tune. She's a spiritual guide for this whole event. She's not given a moment to breathe in this film because she's like saying, "I want to." You know, we have to go in. We have to introduce ourselves to the house and say a little prayer for the house and stuff like that. And then you've got this guy just going, yeah, but what about the food? Is somebody going to eat that food? They've left us some food.
Oh my God, look at it. It's so good.
It's like, shut up about the food for one moment. Just let us say a prayer. It's covered in spiders anyway.
Oh God!
But yeah, it's like he was so concerned with the food. He's like, "Hey, they've left us food. Is anybody going to pick up that food? Is anybody eating that food? Can I eat that food?"
And then later on, when she wants to do a prayer, I really think we should say a prayer before we eat.
we need to form a circle. That's it.
No one cares about your prayer when you're hungry.
Time of the month.
It's like, what the fuck are you doing here? It's like a paranormal spiritual event, and every time it even goes down that road, he's like, "Well, first, guys, we've got to go through this checklist to make sure that we know the health and safety."
I think you can almost tell that she implants that fake bug into the sandwich, right? Because when you go back and watch it, no one holds a sandwich the way she does when it's that shape. So you've got this baguette-style sort of sandwich, and it's almost like the bits at the end are falling out of it, because she's holding it at the end near her mouth, instead of the end opposite to her mouth. Right?
Yeah.
So I think she's like she's fingering in a bug, like a fake bug into the front of the sandwich or something like that. Because it's all about to fall out, like Zoidberg at the end, nearest to the camera.
Yeah.
If you go back and check it out,
I'm pretty sure you can see the bug in clear in shot for like about a minute at the end of that sandwich. Because I was like, that's a cockroach there, isn't it? And then when it came out later, I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty obvious. Because like, yeah, there's a full-on like model of I think it's like a plastic cockroach that they have at the end of that sandwich.
Yep.
Execution poor.
And the thing is, as well, talking about that woman, with that girl for a second, there's the blonde one as well.
Brian.
Yeah. So
Brian.
Did you say
I said Ryan.
Ryan? Oh, Brian. Brian can be a girl's name, can't it? So Ryan, she says after they enter the house, and again, I get the whole thing of like, if you're doing a paranormal investigation and you believe that type of thing, you want to do some spiritual things as you enter the house just to make sure you're protected. And she says something like, "I want to say a prayer." And then our guy with the 90s boy band haircut, so it's like, "We've just had one." And I was like, "Bitch, just let the woman pray."
Yeah, she doesn't ask for much, does she? She just wants to hold hands and speak about white light and feel better about herself. And he just wants to be a cunt.
He really does. I feel like they've been told, like it does seem to me like the directors told them like conflict every scene, but they've been given nothing to create conflict out of.
Yeah.
No.
They've been shown the Blair Witch and just said, do that. So they're arguing about everything, and it can be as simple as when they eat, what room they're based in, who farted where. They're just arguing constantly. And by the way, when they're walking about with the heat meters through the house, I was definitely thinking, yeah, all you're detecting is farts. Farts and farts and farts.
They have this pointless bit where I think two of them, maybe even three of them, go to a corner of the room relatively early on in this extensive runtime. And they go to like a corner and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can feel the chill. Yeah, it's cold." And the blonde girl just goes over and goes, "No, it's not. It's not cold. Don't let your mind make things up." It just seems pointless. Like, why would she do that?
She's an odd character as well, because she does have a moment where like there's that part where the door opens and then our boy band guy says that there's a cold thing that's just moved through the room. He's just found a cold spot. And she says straight away, "Let me smell it. I want to smell you guys." And I was like, "Oh," when she goes over and smells him, it's like, "Oh, you smell of old man." I was like,
He probably does though.
there's a story behind this dialogue that I don't want to know. Like, there's a moment in her history that's informing this, and I don't want to know it. I'm okay. That can remain a mystery to me.
He's probably got an element of Old Spice about him. He looks like it.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I thought was interesting was Stoner Bob. I think he's trying to create conflict in a way, but the black-haired woman, she never takes it negatively. Every time he goes like, "I love all the ghosts," he seems like he's been really patronizing, like he's trying to breed some kind of conflict there, and she always laughs and smiles at him.
To be fair, that like the fourth time that he said, "I love you, ghosts," at that point I was like, that guy's wants to fuck a ghost. And he's like, he goes full Buffalo Bill as well. He's like, "I love you, ghosts. Would you fuck me, ghost? That fuck me so hard." So yeah, I wrote down that he is the Buffalo Bill of the ghost hunting world.
I think with that you can tell that the whole script is like improvised, and he's really struggling as to what to say. So it's like, I'm going to use that again.
Yeah, that's going to be my thing.
It's going to be my line.
I almost kind of half expect him to blow a kiss to himself in the mirror once he scares himself, realizes he can see himself. Isn't there a bit where something dies in it? Because I've got a quote here. How badly is it dead?
Oh, they come across a bird. A dead bird in the is it the loft or the basement or something like that?
Yeah.
Or the attic, I guess you would say in America. And yeah, one of them says, "How badly is it dead?" Don't they?
Yeah, she goes, "Oh, there's a dead bird." And she goes, "How badly is it dead?"
It's like-
It's only really one, just dead or not.
Yeah.
it's a kind of binary thing.
Yeah.
It's dead, Jim.
Did you get any geography to this house as well? Because I mean, it's all right if you didn't get any geography.
Okay, cool.
Because it's not actually one house.
Well, downstairs seemed massive. The middle floor seemed 2 rooms, and then there was the attic.
Yeah, because they used 3 houses for this film.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look at it from the outside, it's a pyramid.
Yeah. No, they genuinely used 3 houses, so that's probably why. So the downstairs
really?
probably is one house, and then the middle bit is another house, and then the top bit is probably the third house.
Right. Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah, because it does seem to change size depending on the floor that they're on.
Yeah, and I've no idea what floor they're on half the time anyway.
No, because I thought that they went to the attic where they found the dead bird, and then they came down, and then the guy was scared to go upstairs again. Like he hadn't been there. And I'd kind of lost track of where everybody was and what they were doing at that point.
It's probably more zoning out more than anything else.
Yes.
I thought at that part it was supposed to be. Just by the way, it was probably one of the worst third acts I've ever seen. And I thought everyone was supposed to be in a different key room saying the same prayer as close to the same time as possible to cleanse the whole building. And he, with his sort of chivalrous nature, decided to go to the attic where the most scariest room in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And he had to remind them how nice he was being, making them not have to do that, you know.
And then he spent like 20 minutes going up there.
No, he was on the stairs for so fucking
Like,
long
fuck,
talking
fuck,
about how
fuck, fuck,
scary
fuck,
the
fuck, fuck,
attic
fuck.
was. And it just got to a point where you're like, just fucking get up there, you cunt. Just, Jesus.
I've honestly written down in my notes, shit or get off the pot. I do not care at this point. Either you go up there and something spooky happens, or you don't and the film ends now, and I'm much better for it.
Yeah, he was on the stairs for way, way too, it must have been like 10 minutes, I think, of him complaining how scary it is to go up.
Every scene as well is like, all of the characters are talking at once. They're always talking over each other. They're always arguing. And honestly, I think that you could easily put one of the characters into that scene just suddenly shouting, "Loud noises!" and it would just genuinely fit in place, you know? Oh, and my favourite line of the whole film is when the stoner guy, Tim, suddenly starts calling the leader of the pack brother. And it suddenly felt like Hulk Hogan was holding the camera. He's like, "I'm right behind you, brother. Don't be afraid, brother." And I was like, what the fuck? It turned into Hulk Hogan for one scene.
I thought he should have got the worst of it because he finds the hidden area. He gets dragged away on camera.
Yeah, I thought he was.
But the paranormal lady...
Oh, yeah.
She gets the worst of it, right? She has all the gashes and scratches.
Not gashes, just scratches. Like they make a point
It just
to
looked
say,
like someone just sprinkled a bit of fake blood on her. That's all they did.
Oh, that ending though, I've written down you can't have a film that bad and then end with that. That is terrible.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that the film doesn't end, it just stops. It stops at a point where things start happening.
Yeah.
They run into a room and find that she's got blood like all over her. And he screams like in that very Trolls 2 kind of way, like, "Oh my God!" And then it cuts to black and you say, "And then everybody was rescued from the house and taken to hospital." And I was like, "Oh, that's the worst way to end. Nobody died."
The way that's written, the medical examiners deemed it self-harm, even though the scratches were on her back. I can scratch my back. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like they stopped the movie at the moment where effort was required. So,
Yeah.
it's getting too complicated, guys. It's too complicated, too much stuff going on. Let's just stop the film here.
I will say as well that my favourite line in this whole film, and I wrote it down, I had to stop it so I could write it down because I think this is it summed up how I felt when I was watching the film. And one of the characters says, "Guys, come on, you're yelling and I can't think." And I was like, yes, that is my mood right now.
So do you think the people at the beginning, obviously the 4 non-actors, but do you think all the people that the producer interviewed at the beginning were, people of the area who are invested and have knowledge about the experiment and the legend and so on? They were real. They were actually real people, is what I mean.
What?
Oh, do you mean like the voodoo priestess and stuff like that?
Yeah, everyone apart from the non-actors and the ghost hunter teacher.
No, I think a little bit because the story is true, and also I think that St. Francisville is meant to be quite a haunted area anyway. So it's like they've chosen all these potentially juicy ghost like ideas and stories and locations and done fuck all with it. Yeah, I genuinely don't know. I do know that the one of the non-actors, Madison, who's the medium, is actually a medium in real life.
Oh, really?
Because there is actually I didn't watch it, but there's an interview with the cast from like 10 years on or 15 years on, where she gets them all
like
back.
A reunion.
I didn't watch it because my interest wasn't that sparked, and also
it was for the collector's edition Blu-ray that they released.
Yeah, and also the video looked like it had been filmed at even lower quality than the film, even though it was like fairly recent.
Filmed on a potato,
and it's 45 minutes long. So I was like, I'm not going to bother with this.
Wow.
Yeah,
but it was. It confirmed that she was actually just as crazy as she is in the film.
Well, I thought, to be honest, of all of the characters, she was the one that seemed most authentically kooky.
The ghost hunter guy, well, the professional in air quotes, he seemed somewhat legit, or at least he played it legit. But I found it kind of funny how they kind of split his scene up into 2 halves. One where he's at the table showing them the equipment, and then he has an extra sort of like an epilogue bit with them when they're having lunch and they change location
breakfast
and
or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
why?
yeah.
He looked like Charles Stiles from Mystery Diners.
Yeah, but he disappeared as well. Like I thought he was going to be like the guide for the event as well, and he kind of just disappears from view the moment that is over. I think as well. I think maybe there's some truth to like the voodoo priestess and that type of thing, but I think the historian's got to be fake as well.
Yeah,
because that was the most actory of the people that they introduced at the beginning. I mean, the thing is as well, I would say about this film, I feel like there's people out there, and maybe even people that were involved in the film, that would say that we're being too harsh on it and too hard on it for what they've done, essentially, and for what they made it for, and with the with the facilities that they had. But at the same time, I watched this film last night, and then I immediately followed it up by watching Host. Have either of you seen Host yet? It's a new horror film. It was on Shudder. It's just been released on video on demand as well.
Yes, I have.
It's a film that's told entirely through Zoom. And it's another spooky story. It's a ghost story, and it's made with 0 budget. It's not the best film ever, but it's incredibly effective for what it is. And it doesn't half like it made me jump a few times. It got me.
I think it's great. I think it was great.
Yeah, I found myself wrapped up in it as well when I was watching it. I thought, like, yeah, sure, it's got some of the same cliche spooky elements to it, but it was so much more effective. And they had nothing to make that film. It was essentially just made on the fly because they wanted to make a horror film during lockdown. And it's like, when I see that, which is made under very similar circumstances to what this was made under, the St. Francisville experiment, I see that there's really no excuse to be this bankrupt when it comes to your ideas and your creativity and that type of thing. So, yeah, people might say that we're being too hard on it, but I don't think we're being hard enough.
No, I described it as a huge void of a film. It's just a void of time that I've lost.
Especially when horror is the genre that most lends itself to 0 or low budget.
You can create an atmosphere without spending a penny.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do find with these found footage films as well, they do tread a very fine line between being completely pointless and also have some legitimacy or rewatch value.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of them don't have, like, even Blair Witch really doesn't have a lot of rewatch value after the first viewing. Because I did watch it a couple of years ago and it didn't really hold up.
It holds up for me, I will say.
It held up okay, but it doesn't hold up as well as it did when it first came out, though. Like, it definitely, there is a tail off there.
Well, that's the thing. I would say that I have a very different relationship with the Blair Witch because I watched it completely outside of the hype, like many years later.
Yeah.
And I found it much more rewatchable based on that rather than it being like hyped up as the Because I remember when it came out, it was this sensation. I mean, it was all because of the marketing material as well. So I didn't see it until I think it was 2004 or something like that. So many years later, and it really worked for me. And I watched it again at Halloween, and it still works for me. But that's another conversation entirely, I think.
Yeah. Whereas say something like Wreck works much better for me because I think the scenario is it's a bit more solid, and the way that it's all put together is much better. So you can watch that film time and time again, and it still has the same effect on you.
Yeah, I love Wreck as well. Yeah,
it's
great.
I would say that's the high watermark of those kind of films.
The thing is, for me, with both those films, there's still a coherency and a need to find out the mystery that pulls you along. You know,
yeah.
That's the problem with this film compared to those films, that you just one, sometimes you don't know what the fuck's happening. Two, do you ever care?
No.
You know, and because of that, it becomes more of a slog to sit through it.
I cared, by the way, Aidan. I really cared when I watched this film. I cared about how much time that you had wasted of my life by picking this film for us to watch.
I don't have many regrets in life. But this is certainly one of them. So does anyone have any other thoughts or comments on the St. Francisville experiment?
Is it a film that we would recommend, guys? I would certainly say no.
No.
I wouldn't say that, this isn't a film that you shouldn't watch. I would say this is a film that you should burn. It's a film that deserves fire. It's the most white people movie I've ever seen as well. I still can't believe that they made a film that exploits this horrible thing that happened, in a historical context of this horrible thing that happened in Black history, and then they decided, let's put these 4 white people in the middle of it, and then
didn't think about that one.
Even on the Wikipedia page, when it goes to the reviews, which were negative, but the last review is a guy called, or somebody called Sabadino Parker for Pop Matters, and they said, let's cut to the chase. The St. Francisville experiment is bad, and ultimately advising, this is a warning, stay away. Do not, I repeat, do not see this movie. Please, save your money and your sanity, and do not ever see this film.
I think he wasn't harsh enough.
Yeah, I think even on IMDb, the only review starts with, this movie sucks hard. So,
I don't think it's not harsh enough to save enough people from wasting part of their life.
No.
And when you say it sucks hard, you don't really mean it in the Dan Aykroyd ghost kind of way. not the good way, the bad way.
I wonder if it would freeze by the time it got to the ground because it would go through the ghost. Anyway.
Did anybody see that new pair of shoes that's selling for £800, $800, and it just looks like somebody's jizzed on a load of trainers?
What the fuck?
I saw them on Twitter the other day, and it's it's just like these black trainers that look like it could be New Balance or something, and they've got this white sticky substance all over them, and they're being sold as these kind of $800 must-have fashion item, and it just looks like. Yeah, it looks really bad.
I suppose it depends whose jizz it is. If it's some really famous person's jizz, I'd pay it $800.
I was going to say, I do not want to see the factory where those shoes are made.
It would be like one of those accidents, like when somebody dropped their glasses in an art gallery and then it became art. This is just a disgruntled employee who's sexually frustrated, and now it was worth
got
£800.
challenged on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's just art. It's just art. Look, I'm wearing them.
Just don't wear them in the rain. They'll devalue.
Yeah, I reckon the factory where they're made is where coronavirus began. Anyway, enough about ectoplasm.
But I think the really annoying thing about this film, and I think that's the thing that really makes people very negatively react to the film, is that for all its badness and the bad acting and the bad execution of it, there's absolutely no point to it. If it had a point or led somewhere, but it really is one of the most pointless films I've ever seen in terms of there was something potentially juicy that they could have implemented into the film, but it's F for effort because they just couldn't be asked. They're just we're just gonna, the most effort they put in is putting a chair on a string and pulling it. That's the biggest thing that happened in the whole fucking film.
To be honest, they do that in Host, and it really works.
Yeah.
Because at least they put somebody on the chair at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like there's no growth, there's no journey, there's no
point.
There's no it's just
point
like a
at all.
snapshot, isn't it? It's like a snapshot of people inside.
And like I say, nothing happens really. Somebody gets scratches on the back and another guy gets spiders in his hair. And that's the end of the film. That's like, and it literally ends with all of them being taken to hospital. It all told to us in a title card and that everybody was fine. And it's like, oh, well, I've just wasted my life then. That's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even get the pleasure of seeing these horrible people die.
I think you feel worse because it's like when he does run at the end and he's screaming and she's got the blood on her. And that title card is on screen for like 6 seconds, and then it ends.
Yeah.
And it ends so suddenly. It doesn't end even with a shot with the producer outside the hospital. I don't know, just anything. It just finishes. And then before you've blinked or you've probably zoned out.
And
then
news
it's ending.
report would have done or something like that even.
Yeah.
Just anything. It reminds me of, and this isn't a film I haven't seen all the way through, but I've seen as part of it, but there was a film called The Devil Inside.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch it now, it ends with, just as the third act is beginning, it ends with a car crash. And then the camera cuts to black. And then a title card comes up with a website on it. And to find out what happens at the end, you have to come home from the cinema, go to the website, and then find out what happened to these characters. However, if you watch the film now, that website doesn't exist. They only maintained it for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
It's not even on the DVD.
No, yeah, exactly. So it's just, you're just fucked.
That's wonderful.
What was at the website? Was it a video? Or
I think it was like some text writing up and some like clips from newspapers and stuff like that. But it ended just as things were beginning to ramp up for the third act, and then it just ends. And it's like, go to the website to find out more about this event.
Wow.
And that's it.
That's an insult.
And that website doesn't exist anymore.
Damn.
It got an F on CinemaScore. I think it's one of the very famous Fs that it received for people that went to see the film.
I don't have anything else to say about this piece
No,
of
I'm
shit.
done.
But yeah, this film is bad. I mean, I'd rather watch Halloween Resurrection again than...
Oh, mate, I would gladly watch it several times. I want to see Busta Rhymes fly and kick Michael Myers in the face again.
Yeah,
calling
just
him
because
motherfucker.
I don't know. Towards the beginning, when they're entering the house, it did give me slight vibes of Halloween Resurrection, but not as good. Which is quite something.
How often can you speak about Halloween Resurrection in a favourable light?
Yeah. I want some Busta Rhymes karate action. That's what I want.
I do
Martial
wonder
arts.
if that's a film that you can get for less than £1.
Maybe
It's gotta
DVD.
be on the list.
Maybe.
Okay, so that's pretty much all we can say, good and bad and indifferent, about the St. Francisville experiment. So 96.
One of those lists was much longer than the other.
So, guys, do you think it was worth the 96 pence price tag?
Dear God, no. I
want
actually saw this for free, and
Yeah.
no, that was too much.
I'd want my 96 pence back plus the extra 4p, just as compensation.
Yeah, I too, like, I saw it on Prime Video, because it
same.
just happened to be on there, luckily. I don't know.
Yeah, there were no downloads available. That's how popular this film is.
And I just think that it wasn't worth the time that I invested into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think-
time
I
is
think-
worth more.
Yeah, my attention is more valuable, and the traumatic stress and boredom that this has brought me was not worth 96p.
Yeah, I would say better luck next time, Aiden.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Again, apologies. That was my bad. That. Okay, cool. So the next episode choice is yours, Andy. What are you? What have you got in store for us? Hopefully, it's better than the St. Francisville experiment.
I have. Well, I don't know. I've chosen Queen's Messenger.
Oh wow! Look at that cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and someone's actually written on it, "Knock off James Bond." So,
wow.
So yeah, I won this in a raffle. So Yeah.
That's always a good sign for a movie. one that goes free in a raffle.
The really sad thing is I paid more for this than they actually paid for in the raffle, so like quite significantly as well. But I'll reveal that next time.
Ooh.
Okay, well, very much looking forward to that. Anything better than we've just experienced, I'm sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening, guys, to this week's episode. I've been Aidan.
I've been Gareth.
And I've been Andy.
And we'll see you next time.